It's Dee Dee on the spot.
Welcome to another episode of DD on the Spot. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. Before I get to my guest here, I'd like to remind that if you enjoy this content to give it a like and subscribe. We greatly appreciate it. On here, we have Dave Wright. He's Biohazardous Music Promotions. He works for Rough Life Records. He works for a lot of different record companies, and I think that we'd like to mix it up. And instead of getting a band or artist on here, we'll get someone that works in sort of the promotion industry, kind of get their take on it. I think it'd be really interesting for us. So, Dave, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. So why don't you start by telling us kind of what got you into the music scene? Kind of, was there ever like a moment where you just decided, I just really like music. I want to get involved in the business side of it. How'd that work out for you?
Well, actually, the beginning for me was when I was growing up. My mother was one of those. I'm going to play a record. You tell me who the artist is and the name of the song. It's kind of a game we played growing up, and just grew from there. And I've always loved music, and the promotions aspect of it is the side of it that I love. So that's kind of what I do.
Yeah. What would you say is the most unappreciated part about the promotions industry when it comes either from the fans or from the bands?
The most unappreciated part has got to be probably like the sharing or the help trying to get it pushed out there. Like when you've got a show coming up, it takes a lot for one guy to put something together for bands, and it just kind of snowballs and kind of tapers off as you try to network, and it slows down. So I mean, that's the hard part.
Do you feel that always kind of in movies there's this big kind of arch character type where the promotion guy might be like some evil guy who has like his own like mindset just for like the money or whatever? How does that, do you think that overall has kind of given some promoters kind of like a bad image and has led to people to maybe be a little distrustful of some promotional companies?
I can see that. Yes, yeah, I can see that. But for me, it's not about the money or anything like that. I just love the music, and I love getting it spread out there. And it does kind of portray that in movies, and like we're the bad guy, but really we're just trying to push it out there and get it going.
Yeah. What was the first company that you were a part of, and what was your experience like with that?
Well, my first company I've been with was Zombie Shark Records.
Mm-hmm.
Noah Robertson. He used to be the drummer for the Browning and Motogrator. He's the CEO, and I kind of started a street team there, and just kind of work with them, and it's kind of grown from there.
What was your biggest struggle starting out as in the record business, and how did you overcome it?
My biggest struggle, like I said, is trying to do everything by yourself to start.
Mm-hmm.
And now I've got a couple of guys across the country that are trying to pull themselves in to help with sales and promotions and stuff like that. So we're getting there.
Mm-hmm. When's like the best time that you find to help like promote bands, or is there like a certain specific time of day, or is there a certain specific like time out of the week when it comes to giving bands the right promotion? Is there kind of like a set rule book on like when you should like advertise at what point?
Normally for a show, you would start about a month ahead and start promoting the show. But as far as networking and getting in contact with the bands and stuff, I've talked to people at 2:00 in the morning, 10:00 in the morning, doesn't matter. Yeah. So it's just whenever everybody's available.
What do you remember the first band that you signed to any of the labels that you work for? Do you remember who they were?
Back when I first started, I worked with a band called Numb, and they were real good, and went all over the place, and they kind of broke up, and that was the very first. I was probably 21 when that happened, and I'm 43 now, so it's just that's what it is.
How do you kind of deal with that at being in the business where bands can break up at any time, like your clientele can decrease or increase just at the snap of a finger? How do you sort of deal with that personally, knowing that your business could be maybe on like the string of a thread within a matter of even days?
That's the nature of the beast, man. I mean, if somebody wants to, a band splits, they split. There's other bands out there that are looking for promotions or management, and that's what I'm here for. And but I don't ever take it personal on my end. I'm always friends with my guys, so it's no big deal.
How has the promotional game changed from when you started out with it 20 years ago? Obviously, with the rise in social media and the internet and everything, what has your personal experience been like with that?
It's easier with the social media. I mean, before it was all footwork and door to door. Can I put a flyer in your window? And can I try to get a little bit of radio spot? And and it's so much easier with Facebook and Instagram, stuff like that. So
yeah,
it's simple.
Is there a certain specific type of genre that you prefer to promote for, or are you willing for all type of genres?
Mainly I work with like the new metal genre, but I'm not opposed to anything. If someone wants to play somewhere and needs help, I'm available to help them out. Doesn't matter what genre it is.
And when you're looking for a group, do you kind of sort of have a mental checklist that you like to go through just to kind of make sure that, like, yes, these are guys that I know that I could work well with and we'd be very successful together? And if you do, what is that checklist?
Mainly is it sellable? Can these guys make money? Can I help them make money? Stuff like that. And, like I said, for me, it's not about the money. I don't care. I don't make a lot of money doing this, hardly any at all. But, as long as I can help them be profitable, that's really all I need.
What is the feeling like for you when you're able to give the band a big break or a big gig? Does it kind of make all of your job worthwhile and know that like all the long hours finally pay off? Like, what is that feeling personally like for you?
Oh, it's crazy. I mean, you might not have the spotlight from that, and they do, but that you're a stepping stone in that process, and it feels amazing. I had a band a few years ago. They played one weekend for me, and then the next weekend they got signed by Warner Brother Records.
Wow.
It's not that I did anything for them, but it's just you're a footstep in that, and it's just crazy.
Yeah. Are there any bands that a lot of people would recognize, a lot of successful commercial bands that you've represented?
I have not represented, but a few years back I got to promote a show for Slipknot, Lamb of God, and Shadows Fall back in the day, and that was crazy. So it was amazing fun.
Yeah, the guest that we just had on, we're listing Slipknot as one of their most influential bands. So that's just a funny coincidence. But have you found that when you were growing up, obviously you probably had your own like kind of idea of what musicians were like, kind of like what the whole music scene was like. How did that change when you got started in this industry?
It's the same. I mean, they're all really good guys that I've met. But everybody likes to party. But it's still the same to this day. We got business done. It's time to have fun, and that's what it is.
How often would you say you kind of get the feeling that the bands that you're having on are sort of or sort of like hang on, I'll just edit out this last part. I totally messed up on that question, but I'll restart. So how often do you sort of get the feeling that when you're helping out these bands, do you ever feel sort of underappreciated, or do most of the artists that you work with make sure that they're giving you credit where credit's due?
Yeah, mostly, so far everybody's been great. Like I said, I don't make any money, off of it or anything like that. But, it's always been thank you, and I'm cool with that. I'm not about the money. I'm about getting it out there, and that's what I care about.
Are there any venues in particular that you are more well known at, that like you tend to give your bands more gigs at?
Not really. It's in this area, it's touch and go where you can get them, and get a show here, get a show there. So it's kind of touch and go. So
now with your new music promotion company that you had, Biohazardous, What was your biggest struggle starting out kind of with your own music production company? And I mean, obviously you've had your own experience in promotions and whatnot, but being a business owner yourself and starting out, what was your biggest struggle?
Just the support, just getting it out there, going, hey, it's me, but it's bigger, and it went slow at the beginning, but like I said, I've got guys nationwide now, and it's just getting there. So it's a slow struggle.
How do you guys sign your bands? Do you usually just walk up to them and just say like, hey, we're interested, here's our contact information? Or you just use social media? What are your techniques that you guys use?
Well, normally I don't have any bands per se that are signed, but like with some of the record companies that I work with, I'll say, hey, are you guys looking for, a label or management or promotions, and a lot of them are, pretty soon, or we're working on our EP and whatever, and then I will pass it on to the A&R of one of the labels, which I think would fit best.
Yeah. When you're working on, labels and signing with people, one of the things that I've found out, obviously in my young age, but with everything in life, it's about who you know. In music, that seems like that's more important than it might be like an average life. How important is that, just the who you know and just the connection-wise making in order to be successful?
The connections that you make, the friendships that you make, I call my people family. I mean, I'm close to everybody that I try to work with. So without that, you have nothing. Mm-hmm. Without the infrastructure or the the connections that you make, you have nothing. Mm-hmm. You can't do this on your own.
Yeah. And what would you say was the biggest promotion or the biggest show that you got a band booked at?
Like I said, the one a few years ago, it was Gemini Syndrome. Mm-hmm. They played for me a few years ago over in Champaign, Illinois, at Canopy Club, and just the weekend after that, like I said, they got signed by Warner Brothers, and that's probably the biggest one that I had personally.
Where do you see your business in the future? Like maybe in like the next 12 months, are you guys planning on doing something big, or how's the process like with that?
Well, right now I've got a show booked for No Self from Zombie Shark Records, mm-hmm. with a few local bands over in Danville, Illinois, at the Black Bear Bar and Grill. And when I get this one done, I've got others waiting, and I don't like to try to do too many at once, so I can concentrate on one. And within the next 12 months, like I said, my guys across the United States are already, finding like hotels that are wanting to be a part of it. That if a band or us come through, we get stay for free and stuff like that. So in the next 12 months, I'm looking to maybe even start productions, what I'm saying? So yeah, it's getting there.
What's the big music scene like in the part of Illinois that you live in? I mean, one of the things that I found out through starting this podcast was that Minneapolis, it has a huge metal scene that I'd never known. But around you, what do you say is this dominant genre?
Well, see, I'm actually living in Indiana, which is close to the Illinois border.
Oh, okay.
But the biggest genre here is rap, uh-huh. And I'm not a huge rap fan. There's some that I like, but it used to be a huge metal scene here, and it's just kind of like it's hard to get people out when we do have internet, and I can just sit at home and watch it on YouTube or Facebook instead of just going to the actual show. So I mean, it's just something that I'm working on trying to bring back.
What are some ways that you think personally that you could bring back that attention and get people to actually show up in person?
My shows, most of the time, there's no cover charge for people to come. I try to do like the one in September 10th. There's no cover charge. It's an outdoor show, and it's going to be fun. I mean, it's early. It's on a Monday night, but that's the date that they had for the touring date, and it's early so people can get there. And I'm just trying to make stuff like that happen because there's nothing else for around this area for people to do.
Yeah. So, when it comes to your profession, I'd imagine that it's a lot of people skills. Was that something that you'd always had, or was that something that you kind of had to develop when you first started out?
Growing up, I was a little awkward kid, got picked on, bullied. I had to kind of make my own personality as I grew older. Now, I get along with everybody, and I mean, the way that I'm talking to you is the way that I talk to everybody. It's just kind of laid back, and let's make things happen.
Mm-hmm.
So,
when it comes to providing bands with all of your services, are there any times where bands might think that you're doing stuff or that you're able to do stuff that you're not able to do? Have you had those situations arise, and how do you mediate those?
no, if I don't promise anything that I can't do.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody has a question and they want something that I've not done, I do what I can to try to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
I try to make things happen for the bands, because that's if I make things happen, things happen for me.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I'm not doing it for money. I'm just doing it to get it out there. But eventually, somebody's going to go, hey, this guy's helped us, and this is what we need. So that's really what it is.
Were you always like in the knowledge when you started out that you were kind of not going to be the one getting a lot of the recognition, that it was usually the acts that you were representing that were going to be getting all the recognition, and that you were kind of be an outside player? Were you accepting of that ahead of time, or was it something that you kind of had to learn to accept?
At first, when I first started, it was man, I'm going to be awesome. But now I'm as long as my bands are happy, I'm happy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it is for me. I don't need the recognition. I got my wife, my kids. I'm good.
How has being married and being a father changed your music career?
It slowed it down in the beginning, as the kids are older now, and my wife now is good with let's do this. Let's make things happen, and she's great. She's 100% supportive, and we're moving fast now. So I mean, Biohazardous music is just blowing up quick.
Yeah. If you were to look at your 21-year-old self when you were first starting out, what would you say would be the biggest difference between that person and the person you are now when it comes to music-wise?
Music-wise, I'm a lot smarter, a little wiser now. I mean, I'm older, of course. I know more of the business aspects of it. Then it was, hey, let's go play a show, get drunk, and party,
Mm-hmm.
And now it's kind of slow down, do things right, and make the business happen.
Yeah. What would be the best piece of advice that you would say to your 21-year-old version of yourself if you could go back and talk to him?
Put the bottle down and get your head in straight.
Yeah. So, what would you say be your best piece of advice if someone were to walk up to you on the street and say, "Hey, I'm looking to form a band. Do you have any advice on what I could do to make my band successful?" What would be your best piece of advice that you would give that person?
Practice.
Mm-hmm.
Practice.
Mm-hmm. That seems about it. That's one of the most popular answers that we've had on the show when I've asked our bands. And when it comes to dealing with bands, have you ever had to deal with any characters, or have most of the bands that you've been dealing with pretty mellow and chill and willing to work with you?
Most of them are pretty chill. I mean, everybody wants the same thing. They want the growth, they want the fame, whatever. And everybody I've dealt with has been pretty cool.
What was the meaning behind Biohazardous music productions? Is there a story behind the naming of that, or was it just something that you came up with?
I've always kind of had a fascination with the biohazard symbol,
Mm-hmm.
and I just kind of used it. A buddy of mine made the logo for me a few years ago, and it's kind of stuck, and that's all it is. I just like the symbol, and it goes good with the musical aspect of my company.
What do you like to, if you were like to describe your company in like a sentence or a certain specific, like sort of like a set of words, and just like, if someone were to think of your company, what would you think would be the first thing that would pop into their mind?
Probably promotions. I mean, that's what I mainly do, is promote shows and bands, and I mean that's what I do.
Are you a type of person that would rather have a lot of clients and be able to do a lot of shows, or be a lot more intimate with your clients and have a less variety of clients, but being able to be there more for them personally?
I think that I'm pretty good with a lot, but being intimate with them. Like I could have 30 bands trying to work with me at once, and I've got enough brain space to keep everything straight. And it's crazy. I don't sleep because my mind never shuts off. And I could be intimate with every member of every one of those 30 bands.
When we're talking to people here, and their bands are sort of like their business, and when you run your own business, one of the things that everyone always says is that it's hard to get your mind off it. Your business is always on your mind because it's in your control and you have power over it. How are you able to find a good work-life balance when it comes to something that you created, and just being able to, do you ever have days where you just say, I'm not doing anything music related today, I'm just relaxing, or how does that work for you?
I do have days where I don't do anything except it doesn't get out of my head.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's always there, but I won't do anything with it until maybe the next day or something. But yeah, it's always there, and I push it off for the next day.
Would you not have it any other way though? Because everyone, that's their response to. And same thing with this podcast. I mean, I have those days where I just want to do a podcast with someone or just do something, but I just say nope. I'm tired. I gotta relax. But it's still always in the back of my head. I wouldn't want it either other way, because you do control your own hours. You do control a lot of things, and I mean, you don't have to work 9 to 5 or do any of that stuff. So it's a positive. But is there any advice that you'd have for someone who's starting their own business?
Just keep to it. I mean, it's going to be slow. I mean, it's new. You just keep to it, and work hard and focus, and just do it.
So now, where can people find your music promotions company? I mean, I know you guys have a Facebook page, which I'll link down below, but is there a website that they can find you at? And what are the bands that you're currently representing right now? We can give them a little plug, and give some links to their music. Could you? So where can people find your promotion company?
Well, I'm still working on the website. I'm upgrading it, so it's not good. But I'm working with, like I said, Rough Life Records, which is Lethal Injection. Zombie Shark Records is Not Us Lived and No Self, and Dirty Machine, and there's a whole bunch of those guys. And then, of course, the bands from Roadrunner Records, we're pushing like the Fever 333 and Nothing Nowhere right now. And, then I've got like my buddy Jay up in Wisconsin. He's we've got a band called Scrog that's out of Saturn Studios. And, of course, there's Dead Horse Trauma that I work with, and Curse the Fall. And there's just so many. I'm just.
Do you find that a lot of networking is done between promotion companies, or is it kind of it's kind of like a dog eat dog world, or is it a lot more of a balanced and friendly relationship with a lot of promotion companies?
The two, like Zombie Shark Records and Rough Life, they work very close together. Actually, one of the guys the singer from Not Us Lived, just booked the show for Lethal Injection that they just finished last night, I believe, and in New Mexico. But those two work really close together, and Roadrunner's kind of more of a come take this away from me kind of company. Don't try to mix with us. Yeah. And, which is fine. I mean, as long as everybody's happy and everybody's doing what they need to do.
Yeah. So, what would you say is the number one misconception from the general public? We've already kind of talked about from like bands or not being able to represent, but for promotions people, what is the biggest misconception that the public has about you and the career? I
don't really know. I mean, most of the time it's, you're not in a band, you're just the promoter or the manager. I get that a lot. You're not in a band? No, I'm not in a band. I just the guy in the back pushing these bands. So
how has being behind the scenes kind of changed the way that you view the music genre or the music profession in general? Has it been more of a positive influence for you, or has it been more of a negative where you don't have sort of like the gleefulness like maybe when you were a kid of the music industry? How has that worked?
No, I'm still gleeful. It's crazy. Music is everything for me. My wife is kind of, oh my gosh, you got to stop for 5 minutes. But I love music. My first concert was Metallica. Still a huge Metallica
Master
fan.
of Puppets is one of my favorite songs of all time.
I'm a Harvester of Sorrow kind of guy, but that was the album they were on was And Justice for All when I saw them, and even today I listen to it like crazy. But it's the same though. I mean, like I said, it's like, wow, these guys are rock stars, but I'm laid back, like, I'm cool with what we're doing, and let's just get it done.
If there's one band in the history of all music they can be disbanded or they can be still alive, what band would you want to promote and why?
Oh man, probably Pantera. Pantera was, when I was early, high school and stuff, it was just, that was it. That was everybody's favorite metal band, and that was, I couldn't ask for a better band then.
Yeah. And if there's one venue that you could give your bands a place to perform at on the planet, where would it be and why?
I would probably, and it's kind of an intimate place, but I always want to go back to Whiskey A Go Go and just have a crazy amount of shows there. That's an awesome place.
And what do you have? We already talked about kind of the upcoming shows that you have, but are you in talks with any other bands or you said that you guys are growing, but do you guys have like a goal that you would like to achieve? And are you guys close to it, or are you just kind of just waiting to just see what happens?
I'm trying to see what happens with, the other 3 record labels that I work with. But there a lot of bands now don't want to be on a label. They want to try to do the independent thing, like Dead Horse Trauma. They're a DIY kind of band, just like Lethal Injection is the only band on Rough Life because they don't want to deal with people telling them what to do and how to do it and stuff like that. Eventually though, I mean, there's bands that I've talked to that are trying to weigh their options with being signed with someone but wanting to go somewhere else, and eventually I'd like to be able to sign bands on my own, and still work with these labels.
How have you found it to be when working for, also starting your own company while working for other companies? How has that experience been for you?
It's not an issue. I mean, these guys are still way bigger than I am. So it's not an issue. There's no competition. I'm here to help you guys.
Yeah.
For now, and then eventually we'll be able to work together after I grow, and you can help me, I can help you, and that's what it really is. I like the networking on it.
Did you have to like assure them or like give them a promise that like you wouldn't try to like steal any like music from them or any bands from them, or what was that like?
No, not really. Like I said, they're just way bigger than I am.
Yeah. So
there's no worries there, and I wouldn't do that anyway. If a band is unhappy and they want to look for something else, that's on them. But I'm not going to go, hey, I bet I can get this for you better than they can do, because these guys have worked with me. They've been great. I'm not going to, backstab them,
One of the things that we like to discuss here, one of the big questions is kind of obviously in the last, I'd say probably like 10, 15 years, rock music has taken a hit when it comes to mainstream popularity. It's not nearly as popular as it used to be. What would you say is maybe one of the reasons why that's happened, and what do you think rock music can do in general to sort of regain that mainstream popularity that it once had? I
think that the rock music shouldn't change at all. It's always been the same. Pop music is kind of, in my opinion, has kind of pushed drug use and women abuse, and hey, look at this flashy car for pimping this chick out. I'm making this kind of money, stuff like that. And that's kind of like, oh man, we want that kind of flashiness, and as long as, we can keep the rock out of that and keep doing what they're doing, eventually it's going to come around and people are going to wise up and go, hey, these guys make good music too. So,
Yeah, I just think the hip hop, they start to act like the rock stars kind of been acting like in the late 80s, early 90s, but I think rock and roll is making a comeback, and it's because of people like you. I mean, it's not just all the bands, the bands get way too much attention in my opinion. They get, which, I mean, they deserve a lot of the attention, but the promoters, the producers, everyone behind the scene definitely deserves an equal shout out as well. So, I mean, we're more than happy to have had you on the show. I mean, we'll leave a link down for all your stuff down below. We greatly appreciate it, and I mean, like I said, Biohazardous Promotions will definitely give them a shout out. And if you have any bands that you'd like for us to promote, let them know. Let them have our contact info. We'd love to have them on the podcast. And if you have any like new shows that you'd want me to give a shout out to, definitely just send me a message, and I'll be more than happy to shout them out. And yeah, that's about it. I mean, was there anything else that you'd like to plug or promote before we call it a day here?
No, well, like I said, right now I've got the show September 10th in Danville, Illinois. It's No Self. It's on their New Hope tour, and I've got Indulge Devour, While Heroes Sleep, and Upon a Broken Throne playing. So it's going to be a good show.
Yeah, all right. Well, I'll make sure to give that a shout out as we get closer to that date there. And I'll leave, like I said before, I'll leave all the stuff here. And I mean, we really appreciate you being on. We learned a lot about the music industry. I mean, it's definitely a thing that a lot of people, I think, want to know about, like the promotional side to it, because it's not really talked about so much. So we really appreciate having you on. And, I mean, keep us posted on everything, and we'd love to have you back on the show again if you have enough time some other time, just to kind of give an update on what your promotions company's up to, and we really appreciate having you on. So Dave Wright, again, you can find him at all the links that we'll have down below. Give him a like, give him a like too on his Facebook page, or contact him if interested. He's more than happy to help you out. I know I have a few bands on here that are looking for some promotions for maybe some tours that they're having, so I can definitely give them your contact information and we can go from there. But yeah, it was great having you on, and this is DD on the Spot, Ryan Johnson signing out. Have a great night, everyone.
Thank you.